All right, so we'll start with the first one that I see here. It's from Ziggy Nixon, and they
Oh,
said
Ziggy. Yep.
non-book non-book related question. Well, I am still fascinated by your tenure as a roller derby athlete. I love watching it. How long did you do that? Could you make a living at it? And how badly injured did you ever get or give?
Oh God, so much in that one question. Ziggy always keeping me on my toes. He's like my number one super fan. He's like such an author cheerleader. He's always so awesome. But anyway, if you like book reviews, you should totally follow him. So I'll give him a plug back, you know,
Totally. Totally.
for a change. But where should I start with roller derby? Like, yeah. So I live in Columbus, Ohio. And we have a roller derby league, and it's called Ohio Roller Derby now. But when I moved here, it was Ohio Roller Girls, and it had just started. So I moved to Columbus after Hurricane Katrina because, New Orleans was washed away, and I didn't, that's where I lived for the last 10 years before that. And I was like in Columbus, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like starting over with like a brand new life. And I'm like, I don't know anybody. And I'm like, how am I going to make friends? How am I going to meet people? Like, I have to start over again. I can't believe it. This sucks. So I was like, what am I going to do? So then I found out about Ohio Roller Girls, and I was like, I really love to roller skate. So this is like the perfect opportunity. Like I can go, I can meet new people, I can roller skate, get some exercise, burn off some stress. So then I just showed up at practice, and this was like 2006. So it was their first year. 2006, like a few months later, was our first season. So I was one of the first Ohio Roller Girls.
That's so cool. I used
That was so neat.
I used to watch the
The
way
ones on
back.
TV.
Yeah, way back when it was like I love wrestling, and that's like no secret. But
Mm-hmm.
like ECW was on, I think, TNN or something, and they always
Mm-hmm.
played the roller derby after, and I always watched it and was just like, wow, this is so cool.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like the same vibe like in the 70s as wrestling, where it's like
Yeah.
there's characters and you have stage names and personalities, and they were like beating each other up and throwing each other off those tracks, but they had like a slant track, which is like super duper dangerous. So it's like Ohio, we didn't have the money to build one of those, so we had like just flat tracks. So we would practice at like the roller rink, and and we would have our bouts at the either the convention center in downtown Columbus or at the expo center by the Ohio State Fair. But I mean, it was fantastic. Like my name was Girlzilla, and my little tagline was 6'2", 6 feet 2 inches of mean monster madness, because I'm 6'2" on roller skates. So yeah, it was awesome, and it was like one of the best experiences of my life. But it was very difficult and very dangerous and very painful, and
Yeah.
there were epic injuries. So yeah, we'd have to go through the list of injuries.
What would you say is the worst injury you've gotten?
Well, me personally, my first season, I tore my MCL in my knee 90% during a practice. And it was that was the first one. That wasn't even the last. So, so it was like we were practicing. It was right before the first match. And it's like, just, I don't know if you've ever had that moment where something hurts so bad, like that happens to you so quickly that you immediately, your mouth waters and you feel like, oh, like you're going to barf, like,
Yeah.
like suddenly, like in a split second. Like it was that moment, like someone hit me and I fell weird and I tore my MCL. And just in that split second, I was like, oh God. And I had never, I mean, I was reasonably sporty, like growing up, like I ran track and I played volleyball and, all that stuff, but I'd never had an injury like that before. And I was just like, oh my God, like something's not right. But anyway, long story short, it was a 90% tear. So almost clean off.
Oh, God.
So yeah, like I sent a Ziggy pictures of roller derby because I was talking to him today because I was like, oh, you've opened a can of worms. Here's pictures of me in derby. And if you look really closely, you can see that I'm wearing a huge leg brace that goes from like basically my upper thigh to below my knee. And that's because I did my 6 weeks, which was probably like the bare minimum physical therapy after that. But then I was like right on the rink again, even though I probably shouldn't have. Because, that's what you did. You were like, I'm badass. I got to get back to skating and my team needs me. And, I was like a jammer and I'm the guy that scores the points. So they're like, we need jammers. So you need to come back. And I was like, okay. So I'm like jamming and getting hit with this, like still with this fresh injury. And I just had to wear my mecha leg is what we called it. It's my mecha leg, mecha Girlzilla. So yeah. So I just wore my brace and the doctor pretty much said, well, for the rest of your life, because of this injury, like every time you ski or do something like where you might have that sort of weird movement side to side, like real quick, like skiing or, you have to wear that brace. So it's like a forever thing.
Ugh, that's terrible.
But those were really common, and an MCL isn't even like the worst knee injury. Like girls were getting ACLs, which is like really deep in there, and then like PCL in your knee, and like if you got a PCL tear, you pretty much had to wear like a hard like plastic brace that went from your ankle like all the way up to your thigh. Like it was nuts, like the things that we did. But we were like so gung ho and so young and so excited. And it's like it was like a club of ladies and we were all friends and we're all still friends actually, which is kind of the awesome part. So but yeah, that was my first injury. But then for the 2006 season, which was our first season, we had an awards banquet at the end where we like all voted for stuff and made it fun and have trophies. And I won for best bruise, which was really tough competition. So because that first bout back when I was wearing my mecha leg, like when you're the jammer, your job is to skate fast and you're the guy who scores the points. So you are skating through a pack of skaters from both teams, your team and the other team. And your team is trying to protect you as you get through because you get a point for every guy in the other team you pass. But the other team is trying to knock you over
Yeah.
because they don't want
Oh,
you to score. So you're the guy who's like the pinball, like getting beat up and
Oh,
pushed
yeah.
around because you're the scorer. So like my first bout back, like it was actually my best scoring bout. It was like 25 points, It was excellent, but they beat the crap out of me. Yeah. Like they were basically wiping the floor of the convention center with me. So it's like I would just get knocked down and I would hit, and the floor was concrete. So I just hit the concrete. And because I was trying to protect my knee, I'd fall on my thigh. I wouldn't bend. I would just fall right on the same thigh and slide because it was concrete. And our stupid uniforms were these little like camouflage cheerleader skirts that one of our teammates' grandmas actually custom sewed them for all of us. But Grandma Charlie, love her. But anyway, so I'm in this little skirt and I keep hitting the floor with my bare skin. So I get this huge bruise and it's basically from knee to hip and it's like yellow and blue and awful and incredibly painful. But then worse, because I was sliding around on the floor, I got a MRSA infection in it because I got a cut, like a little
oh my
scrape.
God.
So I'm like, I didn't know it because it was only just a tiny little scrape. It didn't even seem like a thing. So it seemed like it healed up. But then all of a sudden I was like sitting at work and I was like, oh, I feel like hot and sick all of a sudden. Like, oh my God, something's wrong. And they rushed me to urgent care. And it turns out I'm like, I have like, MRSA. And like, it's from this thing like on my leg. And I was like, oh my God. So it turned into this whole like emergency thing. So anyway, I deserve that trophy for best bruise, and I got it, and it's still on my wall of dubious distinction where I keep all my weird trophies that I win. So
I was literally about that. I hope you still have
so those
it.
were my two worst.
I hope you still have it.
Of course, I still have it. Are you kidding? I earned that. I earned that trophy.
There's some things like I guess, trophies from being a little kid aren't the same as like getting the coolest bruise trophy. My Pee Wee League football trophy is nowhere near as cool as that.
Those are still cool though. Those are like well earned.
I don't have them. I don't have them. That's why I was like, I hope you still have it because I'm like 8-year-old me is like, a lot different than full grown adult human. So it's
gosh. Well, I tell you my terrible tales, but I wasn't even like the worst. Like I was talking to my one of my best friends and we met during roller derby and her name was Wreck and Roller. But so another one of those barf instantly moments. We were at practice and she fell and there was this crack and I went to see how she was and I looked down and I was like, because she had broken her leg and the bone was poking out and there was stuff poking out around it. And I was like, oh my God. And she's like, how does it look? Am I okay? I was like, no, you're not okay. So then today I was like, hey, how much metal do you have on your leg? And she goes, I have a titanium shin bone. So that's what she got out of that. Like she was out forever after that. She was never able to skate again. And she has a full metal shin bone. And I was like, oh, I guess that's why we never fly anywhere. Because good luck getting you through airport security with your metal robo leg. So she's like the robo wreck now. And then my other best friend, we went out last night and the famous tale, I tell her tale a lot. Well, she was skating as well. And, she got injured at practice, very common. And then she broke her ankle and her boyfriend was a paramedic and he was like, okay, I'm taking you to the hospital. So he's carrying her into the hospital and it was such a bad break that her foot was hanging on backwards.
Oh,
carrying her in. I was like, he picked her up and her foot was on backwards, like a B horror movie. I was like, oh my God. Like, So, and these ladies were not the only ones. There was all kinds of crazy stuff like that happening, but we were like young and optimistic and having fun. And then it was like, in the culture of that, it becomes a sign of what a badass you are.
Yeah, it rem-
So, yeah.
it reminds me kind of like the early punk movement, where it's like I don't. It's just so unique and interesting, and there's so much personality into it that, like, I don't know. It's just really cool to me to see.
Well, if you think about it, it's sports culture and yeah. Unlike all of us, just about all of us had some sort of sports
Oh
background.
yeah,
And, it was also combined with our social lives because we did a lot of special events together and a lot of working booths at fairs and cons trying to, drum up interest. And, so it was like a whole universe for us. It wasn't just skating. I mean, the skating is what drew me in because I love roller skating, but it was like, then it became this whole other it became life consuming.
yeah,
So when you're in it, you want to be in it and you want to stay in it, even if it hurts and you don't want to quit. So, but I'm so happy I did it. I mean, it was like the best thing I could
totally,
have done at that point in my life,
totally.
Yeah.
And like so much of my life in Ohio is because of the women that I met there. It's like I see them everywhere and I still go out with them and I still talk to them. And I mean, that's gold right there. Real
Oh, for
friendship
sure.
forged in blood.
I'm so surprised that like I have that you don't see like it coming back into like prominence because I know it's
Well, I mean, the leagues are still
yeah there's
there.
still
There's
league
leagues everywhere.
yeah there's still leagues,
Yeah.
but it's not like I don't know, maybe I just don't pay attention enough, but I see a lot of like
Mhm.
people that I know picking up roller skating now, and I'm like I could kind of see this, like I could kind of see roller derby taking off big again, that'd be really neat to see.
It would. Yeah, some people are like, "Oh, you should go back. You should do it again." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding?" I'm sorry if that bombs. I was like, "Y'all kidding?" Because I was like, "I love it and I love to skate and I will always skate and I still do skate." And I was like, "But I'm tired of getting beat up." Like like I don't have the patience to be like sitting on my sofa like on pain pills for like 6 weeks, with a torn
Yeah.
whatever. I'm like,
Ooh,
"Okay." Like
oof.
yeah. I guess I'm getting conservative in my old age where I'm like, "I don't need the pain." Like I'll just, my new thing is like I want to learn to roll bounce skate, because I can speed skate like a demon, but I don't know how to do the roll bounce. So, like the dancing skating that
Oh
you
yeah,
see.
yeah,
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, like roll bouncing and it's like it's a different kind of skate like slightly and then it's a very different type of toe stop. So, I was like, that's what I want to learn to do. So this winter I actually cleared out a space in my basement office because, my office is in the basement, has a concrete floor and I was like, if I clear this spot, I might be able to try roll bouncing in the winter, like learn how to do some moves, like watching
yeah.
YouTube,
Yeah.
skating in my basement. So I'm working on it. I'm really bad at it, but
Just go to like
you know,
just go to some of the skate parks and just like haul ass around the bowls, just like go as fast as you can.
oh, that gets us back to injury and danger. No, I just want to do the dancing. I want to do the cash roller dancing and like pretend it's like 1977.
Yes.
Boom.
I took I skateboarded like all throughout my teens, and I recently was like, why don't I do that? And I'm remembering like, oh yeah, because I broke both of my ankles twice. I was doing just like the
Oh my God,
littlest thing,
skateboarding.
and I hit the side of my leg on my skateboard, and it
Mm,
still hurts. And this has been like 2 months ago. It still hurts, and I'm like, this is why I didn't do
mm-hmm.
this anymore.
Yep. 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 I made the mistake of trying snowboarding once as someone who never skateboarded. I think that if you skateboard, you can snowboard, but I didn't, and I was a terrible snowboarder, and it was a disaster. But it was it was my roller derby captain who was like, "Oh, the ladies are going on a ski trip. Y'all are coming. We got a cabin." So that part was great. But you have to understand my captain, she was Megadeth, is what we called her. Her name was Megadeth. Her real name is Meg. But anyway, she was like, "Oh, we're going skiing." And her big thing was she always like sent us out like to on the rink, like screaming, "You ain't gonna die," because she's got this West Virginia accent. She's like says "you ain't" all the time. She's like, "You ain't gonna die." Like, what are you afraid of? You ain't gonna die is her big thing.
That's
But she lives like that in her real life too. It wasn't just a derby thing. So she does this ski trip. And the first night she pulls me and the co-captain aside and she's like, "Ladies, like I'm gonna make y'all a bet for tomorrow. You're not skiing." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You're snowboarding. And here's the deal. If you guys make it all the way down the bunny hill like without falling, like I'm gonna pay for your whole trip and all your skiing and everything." And we're like, "What?" But anyway, she basically threw it on the gauntlet, like, y'all are going to learn to snowboard with me because I need snowboarding friends. So I was like, well, okay. She threw it down, and you can't say no to her because that's just who she is. You can't. So I get on my snowboard and I'm standing at the top next to her, and she's like, I was like, I'm a little nervous about this. Like, I don't know how to turn. I don't know how to stop. Like, I didn't do a lesson. She literally just strapped the snowboard on me, and we're standing at the top of the hill. And I thought she was going to give me some advice, but she didn't give me any advice on how to turn or stop. She just pushed me down the hill and screamed after me, "You ain't gonna die!" And I was screaming like, "Ah!" Because I was like, "Oh my God, I'm on the bunny hill. It's like little kids and old people and people who don't know how to ski. So they're like moving around erratically because they're learning how to ski. And I'm on the snowboard. I don't know how to steer. I don't know how to do anything." And I'm like, "Oh my God," I'm like going faster and faster and faster and faster. And I was like, "This is a disaster. I'm going to die. I don't know how to stop. I don't know what to do." And then like all of a sudden there's this old guy who just like, he like bites the dust on his skis right in front of me, some little old man. And I was like heading right for him. I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm like going to kill this little old man. So I was like, oh my God, I have to fall. I have to stop after something. So I make myself fall and I land face first in a snowbank. And then the snowboard is touching the back of my head. So I was like, I'm like in a circle. Like
Yeah.
the snowboard is touching the back of my head.
Like,
so I was like, fucking stupid Meg with "you ain't gonna die." I'm not gonna die, but I'm gonna end up like in a circle pretzel in a snowbank. So somehow I survived and I was uninjured. And I rolled over. And then they don't tell you how hard it is to get up on a snowboard. Like when you're a woman, I guess it's harder because our center of gravity is different. So I was like, they're like, grab your board and rock back and forth. So I was doing that for like 2 or 3 minutes, which that's a long time actually. I was like, oh my God, I have to sit down because I'm like too tired from trying to get up and I'm like stuck here. And that's pretty much how the day went. And at the end I was like, Meg, I'm so mad at you. I was like, this was terrible. I'm like aching. I was like bent in half. And she's like, what are you complaining about? This was great. This was success. I was like, what? She's like, the first time I ever snowboarded, I broke my leg in 3 places and they had to airlift me out of here.
oh my
And
God.
I looked at her and I was like, you knew that and you still made me do it? She's like, you ain't gonna die.